to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
Well, welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show. My name is Tom Dutta, and I am the Quiet Warrior. And I'm excited to have on my show today Mr. Terrance Minnoy. Terrance, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Tom. It's an honor to be on your show.
Yeah, I know it's exciting. I've been waiting for this one, and I got to tell the audience, I'm up here in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and we were just talking about forest fires. We're having a little bit of air quality because of Western U.S. and Canada forest fires, and you're down in Valencia, California, where right now it seems like all is good.
Absolutely, it is. Right now, it's beautiful weather, little warm, but this area has always been known to have great weather, and I must say that I'm enjoying it right now.
Well, that's awesome. I'm a big fan of California. My father's family was down there, been down to Disneyland and other parts, and just love it. So welcome aboard. Terrance, I'm just going to start with turning it right to you and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much again for having me on your show. I am Terrance Minnoy, and there is a reason for the moniker Miracle, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I'm here in Southern California. I was raised in Bakersfield, California, which is about an hour and a half north of Los Angeles. I grew up with humble beginnings, but always seemed to have favor. Always kind of shined. I used athletics to get me out of that situation, and had a very good high school career. Played basketball, and went on to get a full ride basketball scholarship to Idaho State University back in the late '80s. Got my degree there, and started working in corporate America. Started out in customer service. My first job was as a manager's trainee at J.C. Penney's. At that time. And ever since then, just had a love for serving others and being in that type of mode. And went on to get my master's degree from there. Started working other corporate jobs, and currently working as an executive account manager with a very large pharmaceutical company. And so I've just really, my foundation really has been my faith in athletics, to be honest with you, that has carried me through quite a bit of my journey in my life.
Well, thanks, Terrance. That's impressive. And I got to say that when the listeners hear the show, we use the word miracle in your name, and we're going to get into that. And the picture that we have of you certainly looks like an athlete. So congratulations on your success. One of the things I like to say is when we have guests on the show, we park their egos at the door. Many of the guests coming on are like you. They're highly successful. They've got great backgrounds. And what I'm impressed by you is that you're humble. You're a man of integrity, but you're humble. I read your bio, and nowhere in there does it brag about your degrees, your education. All it tells about your authentic self. And so I'm just honored that you told us a bit more about yourself. And before we turn it back to you to get into your story, I just want to build you up a little bit. You're in the pharmaceutical sales industry, and you have a beautiful family. You told me about your daughter's turning 10 this Friday, so we want to do a shout out. Maybe this show is a legacy of her 10th birthday. A couple grown young male adults, 30 and 27, in your life. And I came across you, Terrance, and I want to just make sure my audience knows this. We hadn't met before, but a good friend of mine who's in the media industry says, you've got to meet Terrance because his story is incredible. It'll fit the narrative of the Quiet Warrior Show because he is a hero with his story. And so let's get right back into turning it to you. And why don't you take us back and tell us your story? Take us way back to the beginning. Take us into that story. Let us feel it as it evolves.
Well, thank you so much again, Tom. What I want to do is for you and your audience to put yourselves in my shoes 3.5 years ago. It was February 2015. At that time, I was the age of 44. Very athletic, always been involved in athletics. Like I said, I played college basketball, worked out about 4 or 5 times a week. I am actually a college basketball official as well, kind of an avocation of mine to be part of the game. And I worked a double overtime basketball game 2 or 3 days prior to this event. Every other area of my life was good too. My finances were great. My career was going great. Everything was just in a great place. And let me tell you, it's easy to be, to praise or to be happy for others and serve others when things are going well like that. But all of a sudden, what do you do when things happen, when you get slapped in the face by life? And that's what happened to me on February 9th. Out of the blue, all of a sudden, I had an eye issue that I couldn't ignore. I had to immediately go to an eye doctor, and I did that. When I got to the eye doctor said everything looks okay. He said, but if I were you, I would get an MRI or a CAT scan soon. So I figured, Tom, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'll go ahead and get it done. Well, I went home to decompress. 2 hours of laying in the bed, all of a sudden the room started spinning. Tingles all over my body. I realized that I couldn't control my left side.
Oh my gosh.
I noticed that my face was kind of drooping. I said, man, I think I'm having a stroke. And I ended up on the floor of my home, and I live alone, but 2 weeks prior to me, to the strokes happening, my son, who had never lived with me his entire life full time, moved into my home about 2 weeks prior to get back on his feet.
Wow.
And luckily, when I shouted his name, Tom, he was there. He came into the door and saw me on the floor, called the EMTs, and got me to the hospital in about 25, 30 minutes. And guess what, Tom? I had another stroke right there in front of the doctors.
Wow.
Which totally debilitated my left side. And that was the beginning of this story of me having 3 strokes in 24 hours. See, when I had that eye issue, Tom, that was actually a TIA,
yeah,
which they call a warning stroke. I didn't know it at that time, but that was stroke number 1. Number 2 was in my bedroom, and number 3 was at the hospital in front of the doctors. 3 strokes in 24 hours.
Wow. Well, listen, Terrance, I just want to jump in and let you catch your breath there because, man, I'm sitting back here and my heart is growing and my pulse is racing, and you put me right into the journey, into the story. I can almost visualize being in that home, and I can't imagine, with your son there, if your son wasn't there, what have occurred. And you stopped me in my tracks. When I heard you say, 44 years of age, I'm going like, man, you're just a young guy, and 3 strokes in a period of 24 hours. Oh my God. I mean, I can imagine some of the emotions of fear and everything going through you. But, here's the thing. Most people that have strokes or have major setbacks in life like that, some of them don't make it. And then others get back up again on their feet, and maybe they just can't persevere for fear or for other significant issues. Keep us going in the story. Tell us what happened after that. I mean, take us from the floor and build that out for us. Tell us where you went and what happened from there.
So, like I said, in about 30 minutes, I was at Adventist Health. Again, is where I had my 3rd stroke. And I'll be honest with you, I was very fearful at that moment, especially after the 3rd one. I said, hey, there's something going on here. This may be it for me.
Yeah.
And so I thought pretty much that was it. I was going to die that day. But they took me to ICU. They couldn't figure out why. I'm not a smoker. I socially drink. I drink maybe 1 drink every 2 or 3 months or so. I haven't had a history of high blood pressure or cholesterol, but I do have a family history of all of those things, even stroke and diabetes. And so to this day, we think maybe that's what it is. But so I stayed at that hospital for a week and a half. I went to a rehabilitation for another 2.5 weeks. It took me about 2 weeks to start moving my left side again, my toes and everything. And I started walking again about after 3.5 weeks or so. And at that time, I can remember being at the rehabilitation hospital, and I had these fatigue graft Nike tennis shoes. And I told my son, I said, bring those shoes here because I'm about to go into battle. I'm about to go into battle with life. This isn't going to hold me back. This adverse moment isn't going to hold me back. I'm going to come back. And let me tell you, Tom, a lot of pictures that you see in the media kit and that you'll see on my website or things that I'll send out were pictures that I took while I was in the hospital bed, were videos that I took learning to walk. Why? Because I visualized myself coming through and coming back from that situation, I looked at myself as being in battle, and that everything that was poured into me for years prior to this happening. Tom, I read books from authors like yourself. I listened to speakers such as yourself. I heard all the positive things poured into me. I looked at this opportunity as, how can I use that now? Let me use that now. I was speaking and doing things prior to this. Let me practice what I preach. And so I wanted to be super authentic. I wanted to, while I was down, to actually use that information that was put into me. And what it did for me, Tom, and it's funny to say this, is that the strokes were actually the icing on the cake for my story. Why? Because they confirmed a number of the things that you stand on the stage and tell people about, that other speakers, the Les Browns and so forth and so on, the Jim Rohns, all these things that they said, it confirmed it because I practiced it, and I actually started recovering. And after about 9 months, after about 9 weeks, I was trotting on a treadmill. And after about 3, 4, 5 months, I was running on a treadmill. And after about a year, I was basically full blast, full steam ahead as far as my workout regimen. And I haven't looked back since, and I don't plan to. And I plan to get even better, a better version of me prior to the 3.5 years ago.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, you're such an inspiration. I'm so proud of you, man, in this story as you're telling it. And, I always like to say, I thought about when you said what you said, that, we all have a choice, and you made a conscious choice. I read in your bio, you say, I'm a survivor. You made a conscious choice to adopt a positive mindset. And I know that that's not easy as you're going through adversity. The other thing that I noted you had written is that passion. You said passion is about being a dealer of hope for others. And you talk about being of service to others. There's an innate gift that you have in you, man. It came obviously well before this event. Somehow, maybe in your childhood or growing up, you had this put in you that never give up on your dreams. The other thing I want to say before we turn it back to you is that you use some amazing words like embrace challenges with unapologetic confidence. We all have strokes of some kind to overcome. Setback mastering your setback. And when you tell me that this event was putting icing on the cake, that is so different, because so many people who have strokes or have issues, and wanted to share with you a personal situation that in my family there's been strokes. My wife's mother had major stroke after being married over 50 years. She eventually passed. She became a shell of a person. The doctor said, you shouldn't be here. This was a miracle. I believe, and tell us more, that if I ask you what's your purpose on the planet with what's just happened, what are you here to do? And give us some more advice for those dealing with those changes, or what you call strokes, in their lives.
Thanks, Tom. The first thing that I like to mention, which you said it, is that we all have strokes, is what I like to say. We all have strokes of some kind. The stroke that I had was a brain attack. I mean, that's a stroke. It's basically a brain attack. But we have attacks all the time. We have attacks in our family. We have attacks with our finances and our business and so forth and so on. We all have had to deal with the situation and figure out a way to come back from that situation. Now, here's the difference, though. Some people will simply rely on sort of the universe to just kind of fix things as time goes. Hey, things will get better. Well, that's true. That's part of the formula. But I also think that we can actually make things happen too, right? We can get in motion to make things happen, not just sit back and be the what I like to call the penetrable sparring partner of life. We can actually attack life. You can actually call resilience out of you, and not just the reactive resilience. So that's kind of the foundation of where my comeback has been, is that I can make it happen. I can call it into action, but I had to do something myself. So what did I do? Was, first of all, I surrounded myself with positive energy. I can remember Tom, being in the hospital bed, asking my son to bring my positive books into my hospital room. Not all of them, just a few of them. Not that I was going to read them, but I just wanted that positive energy. I had affirmations around my room. So again, calling that positive energy and believing confidently that I can make it through this. So whether you're in a business transition, a family transition, illness in the family, or personal, whatever it may be confident that whatever it's supposed to happen in that situation is, you can make the best of it. Your message can come from your mess, and you can be a testimonial to others. It's kind of like you, Tom. You're a testimonial to others. You're inspiring me now that I'm getting into the speaking arena and become an author. Looking at guys like yourself, it's great that you can be a shining or a beacon for others. And I want to be that too. And I found this from a young age. I've always had this sort of shine about me where people were simply attracted to, what I said or what I was doing or whatnot. They just saw something in me. And I decided to just tap into that more after the strokes and say, I want to serve more people that way. And I feel good when I do that. I feel like that's my sweet spot. I'm still trying to find my way, but I have all of this talent and I've used it for sales. Now I want to use it to serve, and build a brand like you have to be able to give back to the world. And so that's my passion right now.
Well, that's pretty amazing. I mean, you answered the question so well, what your purpose is, what your passion is. I'm so proud of you. And it's interesting that you made the conscious choice to turn, I like to say you turn your demons, or you weaponize your story into a gift, service to other people. And, we can only think two ways, negative thoughts or positive thoughts. And man, you've obviously mastered the skill of positive thinking. I want to ask you one more question, and then we'd like to find out from you where we can get a hold of your body of work or connect to you, because I'm sure that there'll be people who want to have you speak on their stage, or they'll want to tap into your wisdom. And that question is that, this goes back to the health side, that you talked about family history. I'm interested in this because there's diabetes and stroke and heart disease in my family. And in fact, I was just out on the weekend, and I can't break confidentiality, but I was at a barbecue, and a young couple came up to me. They were in their 40s, and they stopped in their tracks. They looked very emotional. I know them. They work for a company that I do work for. And they said that their best friend, who was 46 years old, had a heart attack and passed away and left their family behind. And so we hear these stories of genes and connections in our families, and young people like you having these critical events. I know a bit about strokes, and I know you know a lot more than I do. That's why I'm learning from you that TIAs can happen again. And so tell me, going forward, just take a minute and tell me, how do you deal with the mindset of, will this happen again? How do you stay healthy and focused on your pathway that you've created through this?
What I tend to lean towards right now is, prior to me having the strokes, again, I didn't have the show signs of the risk factors. I seem to be doing everything correct to not have this happen, but it happened. So what I do, first of all, Tom, is not only do I do it, but I do it to the next level. I have this, we all have a little bit of pride, and I don't want to come back like I was before. I wanted to use this adverse moment as a jump off to the next level of Terrance Minnoy, where I can go in my life. So even physically, I work out differently, a little more, actually more vigorously, because I joined a new gym because I just wanted to challenge myself. There it is. I'm constantly wanting to challenge. You're probably like this, Tom. You wake up and you just go, what can I do better than I did yesterday? And that's how I am. So I joined a different gym. I said, you know what? I've had these things in my past and my life that I've always wanted to share with others. Now is the time that I start my brand. And Miracle Minnoy Motivation has come from that. I always wanted to write a book prior to that, guess what? Now I've written a book and I'm looking to do more. So I'm just looking to take my life to the next level. I don't tend to, I can remember right after I started recovering, I did think about, hey, there is a chance that this can happen again. But I'm so focused on going to the next level with my life and being a shining light for others that I really don't think about it. Tom, if it happens, it happens. And if it does happen, I'll use the same formula that I mentioned in the book. I'll use the same formula to try to bounce back like I have. And if I can't, then so be it. I'm still going to keep a positive mindset regardless. So to make a long answer longer, basically, again, how can I become better? That's the only thing I think about now. How can I maximize the potential and the gifts that I've been given, not to only serve myself and my family, but it means nothing if I don't serve other people at the same time. And so that's where I stand with that.
Well, I love it, man. And I just want to kind of plug your book. We didn't talk about it, but In Different Strokes, Embracing Life's Adversities, everybody, by Terrance Minnoy. What an amazing story this has been. And Terrance, I've fallen in love with your story, buddy. I love you. I think you're awesome. You're a great leader. There's many lessons in leadership that you've given us with this story. This story applies to anybody going through life, not just somebody who had a stroke. And I'm so proud of you, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you told us that it's what you think about that you attract more of, and you're about thinking about the future and how to be in service to others. As I do this interview, I write down on my paper leadership words to honor you. I'm going to read these to you. They're not scripted. Man, you are courage. You're a beacon. Your grit and tenacity, your positive energy, and your love and service, it just comes out of you on this interview. I can hear it. And so on that note, we leave on a high here as we wrap this up. I want to turn it back to you if you can just very quickly tell us, where can people connect to you and get a hold of you and your body of work?
Well, first of all, you can get a hold of me at Miracle Minnoy, Minnoy spelled Minnoy, miracleminnoy.com. You can see my website. We're going to be updating it even more, but you can contact me there. You can get a hold of me at miracleminnoy@gmail.com as well. I'm also on LinkedIn, Terrance Miracle Minnoy, on Facebook as well, Terrance Miracle Minnoy, also on Instagram as well. On my website, you can purchase my book, In Different Strokes. It's not a stroke book. It talks a little bit, but it's more about what you and I have been talking about these last 20 or 30 minutes or so. And so that's where people can connect with me. Again, miracleminnoy.com. The book is In Different Strokes. You can get on the website, or you can get it on Amazon or Kindle as well.
All right. Well, that's fantastic. Well, everybody, Terrance Miracle Minnoy, he's everywhere. He's omnipresent, and he's the chosen one with his story to help people to help you move forward in your life in some bigger way. Everybody, subscribe to this show on iTunes and give it a rating so you can support Terrance's mission. Terrance, I'm honored to have had you on the show, and let's just wrap this up and leave everybody with this, that find that true passion like Terrance has. Find that purpose behind your life and live life that you deserve and desire.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca